Hey guys, what's up? Today I'm going to talk to you about this idea, which is the level to which you invest in something emotionally is going to be the level to which your opinion on that is going to be hard to change. So if you want to live a freer life, it's important to let go of those emotions that you've attached yourself to different opinions and viewpoints. Now, I could end the video there, but there's actually a lot involved here. And I think as I explain this, you might be surprised at the level of depth, of the level of trickery that the ego employs to prevent you from being free. And I think that's why it's so hard for us to be free, even though this is such a simple concept. The ego employs its really subtle tricks. And so in this video, I'm going to break it down in detail. And hopefully after this, you see this, you will be on the lookout for them. So before I get into it, let's just talk about being emotionally invested in a perspective. You know, when you are emotionally invested in a perspective, you might argue very strongly about something, very aggressively. And the more you are emotionally invested to something, the more you are going to be compelled to push others away that disagree with you. You might start to feel it's an attack on you, or if you might feel different emotions come up if somebody disagrees with your viewpoint in a very strong way, right? So if others resist you, you might feel like you want to resist them back. If others reject you, you might feel like you want to cut them off from your life. And this can even become a pattern. You know, some people cut others off from their life the slightest indication that they could get rejected in order to hide from future embarrassment, shame, or some sort of reoccurrence of the past. Now, let's talk about ideologies and religion. So ideologies and religion, they give people permission to hate, basically. If you have a strong ideology, you can use that to justify future actions. Future actions in your life, you can now say, well, the ideology allowed me to do that. It configures yourself in the type of algorithm of permissible hatred. If the ideology is a hateful one, perhaps it's not a hateful one, perhaps it's expressing something else. The key is you are allowing yourself to justify certain actions, certain ways of being, and certain ways of living based on that thing. And so, you know, now let's say you are because it's really good to deal with stronger examples here. Talk about like hatred, for example. If you've configured yourself into hatred, it becomes a lot harder to pull back because now that's seen as a moral thing. For example, in society, you're allowed to hate a racist as what they say goes against social norms. That's kind of allowed. It's kind of funny, right? Another double standard, you know, you're allowed to body shame men, but body shaming women is a massive no-no. Or ask a man for his height compared to asking a woman for her weight. So those are simple, insidious double standards that society has, but they come from that mainstream perspective, which justifies certain viewpoints for us on our lives. And we kind of don't realize. And part of us also doesn't mind. It doesn't mind buying into that. Or many people. And maybe you're aware of these very simple examples. You don't fit in those categories, but think about all the other places in your life where you've bought into it. You really hadn't really thought about it fully, or you've become unconscious. Now, if you have a habit of my team is the good guys, the other team is the bad guys, it's tough to break out of that habit. Because now we have some identification or attachment with our worldview. Our mind is solidified and inflexible. Challenging our worldview challenges our ego, which is part of us. In other words, it's a challenge or attack onto oneself. Eckhart Tolle would call this the pain body, accumulated negative energy that's held in the body, and our ego doesn't want to release all that we hold on to. Furthermore, as what is considered correct becomes common knowledge to us, any new evidence against what we now know is dismissed. This is increasingly common and easy to do these days because of YouTube, social media algorithms, which just feed us what we want to see constantly. Now, in the past, this could have been more of a socially enforced thing, but now it's even more tailored towards us. Now, the key here, guys, is even if we aren't holding a strong ideology, belief, or worldview, we are likely holding many, many small ones in many small, subtle ways, which impact our lives subtly and perhaps even strongly over time. So that's the key. Now, even if we aren't holding strong ideologies, beliefs, and worldviews, which I imagine most of you guys aren't if you're watching this video, we are likely still holding them in small, subtle ways. And these impact our lives subtly and then even more strongly over time. People use, subjects, groups, ideologies, YouTube channels, viewpoints to reinforce a particular pattern that they have cultivated. This is the key here. For example, anger, pain, distrust, skepticism may be directed through a particular group, author, content creator, YouTube channel, or anything like that, book. The actual content of this direction doesn't really matter. So the content doesn't really matter as much as it does the pattern. The pattern is what matters here. There's an energetic pattern that they have in their bodies, energetic pattern and a viewpoint, a particular set of emotions, and it's being channeled in a particular way through a content creator, through a story. The ego has decided to attach the emotion to a story. The stories are being used to mask this direction of energy. And likely, the content creator or the content is somebody they do resonate more with. You do resonate more with it. But the key here is the energy is going in that direction of the story. For example, I would argue a lot of the pain males feel is redirected through the red pill or the black pill or similar communities. And whilst there may be interesting ideas, maybe even truths that some of these creators might communicate, a lot of the interest is in the emotional side. It's in the outrage. It's into the 60-second clips or the compilations or, people being disproven or destroyed. People are seeing the outrage rather than the truth of what really is, as accurately as they possibly can, without clinging to the emotions and letting them negatively impact their lives. Instead of, for example, learning about, instead of learning about ideas the Red Pill talks about, understanding the data, seeing the trends, seeing different things, being, okay, yeah, I can see that. Many people are more interested in falling into the emotional side, and really that is impacting their lives, and it's really getting them trapped in these stories, which they don't realize is the ego using those stories to continue and perpetuate those patterns of energy that they have. So the key here is to realize it's the pattern that is being reinforced to create further attachment through the use of the other party. The party doesn't really matter as much as it acts as a container to fill some void, to allow continual attachment, clinging, craving of this energetic pattern. And so the ego is sneaky and will use this or whatever ideology, belief system, group, social circle, content creator it sees fit. the party we're using to reinforce this pattern we're attached to is just acting through the stories. And again, the stories don't matter, the pattern does. And that's what we need to let go of. And when we can dissolve that, we will find that we are no longer interested in the stories either. We might think of ourselves as superior or beyond contemplating this, because we might think we don't have the same, or we don't hold the same animosity towards others, or emotional investment in particular views or belief systems. However, even if we don't have strong patterns here, think of all the small ones we do in our lives. Working on letting go of this pain body energy, this negative energy stuck to us, goes a long way in improving our lives. And when we can improve our lives in this way, we're going to feel more emotionally free, limitless, happy, content, accepting, confident, and much more. We're allowed to live more empowered lives and able to empower the lives of others around us. And to end with, because I like to end on Zen stories, I asked ChatGPT to write me a Zen story on what I've discussed today. And here's what it gave me. So I'm going to read this out, it's going to be fun. Title: The Empty Container. Once a Zen seeker approached a Zen master seeking guidance on overcoming attachment and reinforced patterns. The seeker explained how they found themselves constantly drawn to certain groups, ideologies, and content creators, using them as vessels to challenge their anger, pain, and distrust. The Zen master listened attentively and then picked up an empty clay pot. He held it up for the seeker and said, "This pot represents your mind, seeking to fill it. This pot represents your mind, seeking to fill itself with external stories and attachments. Just as this pot is empty, your true nature is also empty and pure." The seeker pondered this and asked, "But how can I let go of these patterns and attachments that seem to blind me?" The master gently tapped the pot with a stick, creating a hollow sound. He then filled the pot with water until it overflowed, saying, "When you are willing to empty your mind of preconceptions and attachments, you create space for something new to flow in. Just as the water fills this pot, the universe is waiting to fill your life with possibilities." The seeker reflected on this lesson and asked, "But what about the groups and content creators I resonate with? Should I distance myself from them?" The master smiled and then replied, "Understand that it is not the external parties themselves that are important, but the pattern within you that seeks validation and attachment. When you release the pattern, you'll find your interest in the stories they tell naturally fades away. Instead, focus on cultivating inner peace and connection with your true self." With these words, the seeker began to realize that the journey to liberation lies not in clinging to external narratives, but in recognizing and releasing the patterns within. By emptying the container of the mind, they can embrace the boundless potential of the present moment, free from the constraints of attachment. In this Zen story, the emphasis is on transcending attachment to external stories and recognizing the importance of inner transformation. It encourages, blah, blah, blah. Cool. That's the Zen story. I hope you guys learned something. If you thought this was interesting, Let me know below, and I will make more videos like this. If you like the style, let me know. If you don't like the style, if you like my old style, let me know as well. Just trying stuff new, and yeah, let me know. Like and subscribe. Peace.